I would take my son to school in boys' clothes, and the teacher would give him a dress, change him into a dress, and make him use the girls' bathroom. And they transitioned him behind my back for almost 2 years. The Trump executive order had a lot to do with slowing it down. I believe he was put on puberty blockers in December, last December. I don't think he's on cross-sex hormones yet. And that's really important because virtually 100% of the children that go into cross-sex hormones go on to surgery. My ex-wife tried to trans my son, produced more political power in the Republican Party of Texas than I was able to produce, and shut down my appeals. I went up to the Texas Supreme Court. I argued my case at the Texas Supreme Court, saying you should not let her move to California, because I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a bill passed in Texas, and I successfully did it, that outlawed these procedures here.
The radical left's push to erase biological truth and undermine parental rights is no longer confined to activist circles. It truly is infiltrating our courts, our schools, and our laws. Now, there are parents who dare to stand up for their children. Those parents are finding themselves vilified, silenced, or even worse, stripped of their rights by the very institutions that are meant to protect those parents. Judges, they're making life-altering decisions that override a parent's role, and politicians are bowing to activist pressure, and entire states, well, they're positioning themselves as sanctuaries for policies that defy both science and common sense. Now, that's why I'm thrilled today to have with me a very special guest. We're joined by a father who refuses to back down. His name is Jeff Younger, and Jeff Younger's battle against the legal system after standing firm in his belief that parents, not courts, not ideologues, but parents should decide what's best for their children. Well, this has become a flashpoint in the war on parental rights. His story is shocking, but more importantly, it's a warning to every American who believes in family, freedom, and the fundamental truth that no government should have the power to redefine reality. I want to welcome you to the show today, sir, Mr. Jeff Younger. Thank you so much for being with me. This is really an important topic, not just to me personally, but to our over 2 million members. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could, sir, if you could take us through that moment, your story, your personal story, when you were confronted, tell us how this all occurred. Like, if you could just sort of break it down, because I do believe that there are so many parents that are equally in a similar position, and this kind of comes out of left field. Tell us, if you could, walk us through how this all came about.
Okay, so it started when my son was 2 years old. I was married to my ex-wife. She's a pediatrician. She practiced in Capel, Texas. And she started basically transitioning my son right before my very eyes while we were married. I noticed that she would put him into timeouts, and she would say these weird things to him like, don't be a boy. The monsters only eat boys, and then close the door, for the timeout or whatever. And so I just put my foot down about this. And then she filed for divorce and forced me out of my house. And I moved about a mile up the road from my house. And I had my sons on a 50-50 schedule as we approached our court date. It took us almost 3 years to get to court. And my son starts telling me that mommy is telling him that he's a girl. And so I took a video. It's the first iPhone video I ever took. And that video went viral all over YouTube. If you go out and search for Mommy Says I'm a Girl, you'll find it. And it's just my little son, just past his 3rd birthday, saying that, mommy says he's a girl, that she puts dresses on him and paints his nails and has given him a fake girl's name and so forth. So I was just terrified by this. Well, the courts, you know how the divorce courts work. They're all designed to drain you of all your resources and strip you of all your rights. So they appoint a custody evaluator. He's a psychologist. His name is Blake Mitchell. He practices out of Frisco, Texas. And he charged me $60,000 to analyze my family for a year. And he asked me what my number one issue was. And I said, well, my number one issue is she's tampering with my son's gender identity. He told the court in his report that I lied about that she wasn't tampering with his gender identity. He literally just wrote a report that was a total lie because I showed him that video. And he talked to my son about it. I was present when he did so. He lied to the court, and he said, and so I got less than standard possession time. I got 8 days a month with my son because he said I
Oh,
lied about it.
Lord.
And now we know that she was completely transitioning him. He totally lied. So then she starts ramping it up after the divorce and begins to take him to school as a girl, registering him in school as a girl. He's going to the Capel, Texas school district to Pinkerton Middle School or Pinkerton Elementary School. I pretty much got that school shut down after what they did to my son. I would take my son to school in boys' clothes, and the teacher would give him a dress, change him into a dress, and make him use the girls' bathroom. And they transitioned him behind my back for almost 2 years before I found out. And it turns out, you know, when they try to kill your son, you'll rise to the occasion and do the research. It turns out in all 50 states, that's legal. And we can talk about why that is, you know, in a little bit. And we need to change those laws. So it's perfectly legal. And so the school counselor was transitioning my son behind my back. This ramped up to where I was like, what do I do? So I thought this through, and I set up 3 principles for myself. 1, I would never hurt my son. 2, I would never morally miseducate my son. And 3, I would never let my resources be used to morally miseducate or hurt my son. And so all I did with my son was just show him how great it was to be a man. I did all the stuff I loved to do as a boy. And, you know, and in my 40s, I got to do it all over again. I really actually had a lot of fun with my boys. So just went right back to when I was a kid and did all the cool stuff that I loved. And he began to reject the female identity. So she's a pediatrician. She got another doctor to diagnose him with ADHD so she could drug him because he was refusing to wear a dress to school because he liked being a boy. So that's where the teachers came in to help transition him at school. So she eventually realized that he was going to reject the female identity. So my ex-wife filed with the court to take sole control of the children. And we had another trial in 2019. She's kept me I've been under a continuous lawsuit from her for 11 years. There's never been a period of time in 11 years that she hasn't sued me. So we go to this trial 2019. The top experts in transgender medicine on both sides show up at this little courtroom in Dallas County. Their top expert was Johanna Olsen Kennedy, who started LA Children's Hospital Gender Clinic, which is the largest gender clinic in the world. It's also in some scandals that we can talk about because they failed to release evidence. So I put Johanna Olsen Kennedy into a deposition and I asked her this one question. I said, Doctor, what is your medical justification for amputating healthy body parts from children? And her answer was, if they cause psychological distress, they're not healthy body parts. Opposing counsel was shocked by this, and they were not willing to put her in front of a Texas jury. So she didn't take the stand. I had Dr. Levine, who started the first gender clinic in America in 1974. And they closed the clinic down at Johns Hopkins because their data showed they were harming patients with the treatments. Mm-hmm. So we knew a long time ago that these treatments were harmful. We had the data.
Let me understand the timeline because this is okay. So do you just have your one son shared with your ex-wife?
No,
or
I have
are there
twin
other
boys.
children?
I named them after the brothers of Jesus, James and Jude. It's easy to remember.
Okay. So you have the 2 boys, and these are twins, and it's one of the twin boys who your ex-wife targeted
James.
to
Yes.
James. Okay. We're going to pray for James. How old is James today?
Say again?
How old is your son, James?
They will be 13 in May. Both of them.
Wow.
They're 5 minutes apart. Jude is the youngest one by 5 minutes.
Okay. So, and Jude was not subjected to the same treatment from his mother as James. Is that right?
No, she seemed to have this pathology where she picks a winner parent, a winner kid, and a loser kid. And she picked James as the winner kid. She did the same thing with her daughters. She had a winner daughter and a loser daughter. It's one of the first things I actually had to fix in the family when we married in 2010. So she picked James as the winner. So Jude can never do anything right. He's not allowed to play sports. You know, he needed occupational therapy. She wouldn't give it to him because she wanted him to be uncoordinated. So I had to put my boys. I'm old school. Like, I'm a boxer. My family's, we're all boxers in my family. So I just took my boys to the boxing gym with me, and it took Jude several months, but he got up to speed. But that's one area where both my sons, especially James, though, were introduced to masculine culture. And that was a big impact, because it actually is the thing that precipitated why they began to take my parental rights from me. So what happened was, I'll give you two stories from the boxing gym, which will explain everything. The first one, Jude has a little bit of cerebral palsy, coordination issues, crossbody stuff. Boxing completely cured it. It just took about a year, and it just completely cured it. He became just a ruthless wrestler after he got over this. He's devastating. But he couldn't jump rope, so he would try to jump a couple of times, and he couldn't do it. After about a month, he could get where he could make it around twice. We got semi-pro and pro boxers at this gym I go to. The entire gym stopped, and they ran over to him, circled him up, and said, "Hey, I'm getting emotional just talking about it." They said, "Hey, we've been watching you. You finally jumped rope. When you get two, you're jumping rope. That's official. You're jumping rope. We thought you were going to quit, but now we know you're not a quitter and you're one of us. So we want to welcome you to the boxing gym." And he was like, "What?" Like, this is what masculine culture is about. It's like, you don't have to be the best. You just don't quit. You don't run out on your comrades. You don't quit. You do the work and you'll get the respect. So they learned that really bad. Then I set up an exhibition match because they'd never seen two men go at it for real and try to hurt each other. So I set up exhibition. Well, I thought was going to be an exhibition match. I got in the ring with this semi-pro boxer who outweighed me by 80 pounds, 6'5". I think he had daddy issues too, because he put a world of hurt on me in the first round. And I actually got taken down with a liver shot with a TKO right in the middle. Mm. And my son James came up and said, "Dad, it hurts just as bad on the ground as it does standing up. Why don't you just get up?" And it made me laugh, and I was able to get up. I got the longest 10 count in history, and I was able to finish this 3-round exhibition match. But I knew at that moment my boys had my values, and she could never take those values from him. And because James again began to resist, even though he was on ADHD meds, he began to resist the female identity again. The court-appointed psychologist initiated a CPS investigation against me, saying I was forcing him to be a boy. I had 7
When
CPS
did he begin to resist, sir? When did he begin to resist?
So
was that
right around the age of
6?
about 9.
Okay.
And just to let you know, my ex-wife was working with a pediatrician named Jennifer Pape in Flower Mound, Texas. And in the medical records, they planned to chemically castrate James at 8 or 9. The plan was to put him on purity blockers at 8 or 9. So this is the age at which he began to resist. Abuse. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to, again, for our listeners. So we have a woman who at the time was your wife. You noticed it as young as 2 years old that she was targeting James, not the other boy, your other son, Jude, but James, and saying to James, "You're a girl," dressing him as a little girl. The school began to support that behind your back, kept you in the dark.
Yep.
I can only imagine how absolutely confused this little boy, being 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, living as a little girl to try to please his mother, maybe in fear, not knowing, children are born to want to love their parents, and we see this. Children will justify a parent's horrible behavior because we are born with a natural desire to want to believe that our parents are good.
And
that's why so many adults are messed up, because we can't accept the fact that we had a parent that truly mistreated us, period.
That's right.
And just because they're blood related to you doesn't mean that there's an excuse or a reason or that it will ever be right. Wrong is wrong is wrong. But when you're that little, it's hard to say my mother is a bad person.
Yeah,
and nobody wants to say that.
Yeah, I directly asked him one time why. Because here's the thing: he never presented as a girl with anyone but his mom. At church with me, with all his friends, he presented as a boy. The courts could have just given this boy a chance at a normal life. But I asked him, I said, James, why do you wear dresses and pretend you're a girl with your mom? And he just was, in that innocent way that children have, where they just tell the truth. He said, well, just mommy doesn't love me if I'm not a girl. He just straight up
And
told me
that's
that.
so there it is. So now here's the big question. She was moving forward to have this permanent, irreversible
Mm-hmm.
surgery to remove his body parts. It makes me so angry. And also, I just feel that this is plainly, clearly child abuse.
Yes.
Today he's 13 years old. Did
Mm-hmm.
that happen? How did you stop her
He
from going through with that surgery?
So I think the Trump executive order had a lot to do with slowing it down. I believe he was
Amen.
put on puberty blockers in last December. I don't think he's on cross-sex hormones yet. And that's really important because virtually 100% of the children that go into cross-sex hormones go onto surgery because it tampers with your brain chemistry. It changes everything. You become very malleable to what the doctors and counselors want to do to you.
Have you been in regular connection with your son, in touch with James?
No, this is one of the aspects of family court that I talk about a lot. Um, there's a lot of tricks they do in family court to get you to voluntarily remove your rights or waive your rights. I refuse to do that at every stage. So what they do is they'll give you an order that you can't comply with. So I was running for office in Texas, and they gave me a gag order, which gave me a lifetime ban on writing newspaper articles, op-eds, appearing on podcasts. I couldn't give speeches in public. It literally banned me from giving speeches in public. So
Who's
then what they
they?
do is they
You say
say,
they.
yes,
Which court? Is
the
this in
301st
Texas?
District Court in Dallas, Texas, under Judge Mary Brown, and I call her Judge Bloody Mary Brown. So what they did is they reasoned like this. Well, the court issued an illegal order to Mr. Younger. The illegal order was entered in the best interest of the children. Mr. Younger is not following the illegal order. Therefore, Mr. Younger is not acting in the best interest of his children. And because Mr. Younger is not acting in the best interest of his children, we're going to give him supervised visitation. That's how I got supervised visitation, because I
Okay,
wouldn't
when's
follow
the
the
last
illegal
time
gag order.
you saw James, if you don't mind me asking that question?
It was last year
Oh,
in
Lord.
March.
Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. If I lived if this were happening to me, I mean, I would want to go to everyone and anyone with any power. Were you
Mm-hmm.
able to get your message into? Did the governor get to sit down and speak
Yes.
with you, Governor Abbott?
Yes. Well, here's the thing that happened in Texas, and it was shocking to me. My ex-wife, trying to trans my son, produced more political power in the Republican Party of Texas than I was able to produce, and shut down my appeals. I went up to the Texas Supreme Court. I argued my case at the Texas Supreme Court, saying you should not let her move to California, because I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a bill passed in Texas, and I successfully did it, that outlawed these procedures here. So that's why she wanted to move to California. So I said, you can't let him move to California. It removes the protections of Texas law from these vulnerable children. But the supposedly conservative Texas Supreme Court allowed that. And what I learned is there's a kind of civil war going on in the Republican Party. We have an extremely left-wing donor class in the party, and we have a very conservative voting class. And they're not in sync. And the legislators have to sort of somehow fix this conflict. And one
Yes.
of the things the governor wanted, I believe, is he wanted my case out of state because I had become a political football for him. And so they let her move to California.
What is your next step, sir? They let her move to California. She took both of your boys,
Yes.
I imagine.
Yes.
At 13 years old, they've got to have a longing for you, their father, who they
Yeah.
clearly have a strong relationship with. They can't, I'm wondering, do these kids have any rights against an abusive mother?
In California, My failure to affirm James as a girl, when I failed in court to say that James was a girl, in California, that can be construed as domestic abuse. So in California, she's the one who's the good parent and I'm the bad parent.
So what is the next step? I mean, how do can this go all the way to the Supreme Court?
I intend to go there. So I'm working my way through the California courts right now. I'm going up to the appellate level in the second district in California out of LA. They're doing all kinds of dirty tricks. They're denying me the record, all kinds of stuff. But we're gonna work through that. We got to go all the way up to the California Supreme Court, where we'll probably lose, and then we're going to go into federal court. Trump, in his executive order, has ordered all of the agencies to assist Congress in passing a law which would create a federal cause of action for parents and children to sue. Right now, it will be difficult for me to get a federal cause of action. So that is very important. I'm working with Senator Hawley's office to modify a bill that he's already produced, which allows children to sue, but it doesn't allow parents to sue. We need to allow parents to do it, and it has a 30-year statute of limitations. And that's really important because that we don't know the effects of these drugs long term on these kids. So, we're in Denmark, they're finding, 15 years later, they're getting like really serious cases of osteoporosis, right? Because their normal bone development was halted during puberty. So we don't know what's going to happen. So we need that long statute of limitations. That's probably enough to scare the lawyers to shut down these practices in most of the hospitals.
Would you be notified if your son did undergo any type of surgeries? And
She
do
is
you
not
have
required to notify me, but I can petition the court at regular intervals to get an update.
Okay, and I'm sure you've been doing that.
Yes.
And you're not able to speak with your boys over the phone?
I'm allowed to speak to my sons on the phone, but even my phone conversations have to be supervised, which costs about $500 per phone call. And the
Unbelievable.
problem is they're requiring me to use female pronouns, his fake girl's name, which I won't do. And in California, if that is observed by a psychologist, it could be reported as domestic abuse. And if they give me a domestic violence restraining order, I'll never be able to see my kids. California actually gives out lifetime restraining orders. So even when your kids are 18, you can't see them.
Unless they reverse it, your sons.
My sons could sue to go back and reverse it, yeah.
Yeah.
Courts don't
This
always
is,
grant it, though. There have been cases in California where they don't grant it. It's crazy.
Mr. Younger, I am really at a loss of words. People think that this stuff is not going on. They say, oh, there's too much hype being made about, gender ideology. And,
Mhm.
there's such a small percentage of people that are actually transitioning or, undergoing that kind of sex change surgery.
Mhm.
But in fact, it's happening more and more than we realize it. I mean, this has become, it's like a cult, what we
It's
see
exactly
happening
right.
by institutions, including many hospitals,
Mhm.
our schools, our colleges, and for a mother to adopt this and to be talking to a 2-year-old, it breaks my heart because, in my personal view, I would label that plain and simple child abuse.
Yes.
And you've had to deal with this for so many years now. I know everyone here at AMAC will be praying for James and Jude.
Thank you.
Both of these boys need. Um, the systems can't fail them. The system is failing them,
Yes, it is.
and I just pray that when they're of legal age, whether that's 18 or 21, that
Mhm.
they're going to turn to you and say, "Thank you for not giving up on us, Dad. Thank you for fighting." And I would say, never, ever give up. Your children need this. And while you're fighting for your own boys, the rest of America really, and those of us here at AMAC, root you on because you're saving other countless lives into the future.
Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. It's what keeps me going.
Well, we appreciate you being here with us today, sir. And I would love to have you back with us again.
Sure.
If you have more news or information to share, please keep us updated. Any resources that you want to point our great listeners to if they're dealing with a similar situation?
Probably
Any
the best
advice
place to
that you might
go,
leave?
and I have a bunch of links and contact information. If you go to savejames.org, it'll take you to a landing page, which will tell you how to contact me. And I have lots of resources with psychologists who are not crazy that I can point people to. And I have lots of great articles that I put out there, blog articles that I put out there, which explain kind of my approach to handling this in the courts and with my children.
Jeff Younger, again, thank you and God bless you. And to
Thank
all
you.
of you out there listening today, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to like and share this video with friends and family, and be sure to join or renew with AMAC. We appreciate you, and we've got a lot of strength in numbers. God bless you all. I'm Rebecca Weber. Have a wonderful evening.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.